Okay, so I'm sure many of you remember the cartoon Ever After High. I adored it as a child, and I'm still a little upset that it got cancelled. However, I decided to rewatch it and basically take a deep dive into these movies and episodes, starting with Legacy Day. Okay, so Legacy Day basically is sort of the setup for the plot of Ever After High, which is basically you have these children of fairy tale characters who are supposed to follow the destiny of their parents. They're basically supposed to do everything their parents did. However, Raven Queen decides to challenge this because she does not want to be evil like her mother, the evil queen that poisoned Snow White, which isn't really liked by many people, especially the headmaster, who argues that it could cause you to disappear. Legacy Day sets this plot up and introduces you to these characters, so let's get into it. We start with basically a scene of Ravenbook as she's about to sign the Storybook of Legends, where you basically sign your destiny and now you're bound to it. And she's like basically thinking about it and decides to rebel against it. A male voice is narrating the scene and only to be interrupted by a female voice, which is one of the show's biggest charms. Basically, they have like these two narrators with their own personality, which I think is really fitting to a fairy tale show, to actually create a character out of the narrator and even two. And they have very different views regarding the royal and rebel cause. So their dynamic is always fun to like listen to, and yeah, it adds a lot of charm to the show. Anyway, as he's interrupted, he's supposed to start at the beginning, and now we get to see Legacy Day from Raven Queen's perspective. She's basically walking to school with her friend Maddie. And I already like this scene because the designs there of these characters are so aesthetically pleasing and just perfectly also show you the kind of character this is. Like, for example, with Raven Queen, you can like see that she's kind of rebellious and the type of screw the system type of character. And with Maddie, you can already see that she's like this sort of unordinary person who is very adventurous and lively, you know? Anyway, so we have Maddie interacting with the narrators. She's from Wonderland, she's one of the few people that can actually hear the narrators. I'm pretty sure she's the only one. And Raven expresses frustration with basically being seen as evil, since just because her mother was, which sets up her one of her biggest parts of her characters, which is struggling to prove and also be accepted as different from her mother. And Maddie tries to tell her that people like her. Even after everyone expresses their fear of her, Maddie still continues to decide, yeah, they like you, which also kind of shows that since she's from Wonderland, she has a different understanding of how reality works. We then get a short interaction between Raven and Applewhite, which I think is really great because it shows Apple's character. She's kind but also really ignorant because she believes that, Raven wants to be this evil person, or she's supposed to be this, so it's right for her, but she's still polite and kind towards her. Anyway, later on it turns out that Apple is Raven's new roommate. She decided to switch rooms because they're like have this shared destiny. And in this room, she has already decorated things for Raven, which kind of shows, she is pushing her ideas of what Raven is supposed to be onto her and already making decisions for Raven. Later on, then we get a sequence of like them rehearsing Legacy Day, where Raven first questions what would happen if she rejected her destiny, to which the headmaster, who's a Grimm brother, is basically threatening her that, you will be disappearing and basically going poof if you don't sign this book. So she runs away, and we get a short scene of the second Grimm brother. Then the female narrator takes over, and she shows Apple on Legacy Day, only to have another fight between the narrators, where now she's supposed to show the start of the day from Apple's perspective. Now we see Apple and Briar talking, and we have like this character of Apple being really focused and putting a lot of importance on destiny, while Briar is more focused on enjoying her life and partying, which later on becomes a huge part of her character, which is that she's so scared of missing out and losing her friends for sleeping 100 years. I feel like having this short setup is already great. We then have a conversation between Brian and Apple as to why Apple wants to become Raven's roommate. And it's because she's such an important part of her destiny. But I also think it's kind of ironic because she wants Raven to poison her, yet like basically try to murder her, yet she's like doing everything to also get her emotionally attached to her. So she's befriending her, only to then later on be betrayed by her. I mean, well, it's like different rulings in their universe. Later on, we meet Ashlyn Ella. She isn't a big character in this movie, but she does become bigger on, and we basically see her interest in nature and shoes. Then we also see Apple's perspective on Raven, questioning if she should really sign the Storybook of Legend, and we see her panic and also be pressured by the headmaster, that one Grimm brother I don't really like. Which is also a big part of Apple's character, that not only is she really wants to have her destiny, but the adults around her are pushing that she needs to do everything to make sure that Raven follows her destiny. Anyway, we see then Raven and Maddie decide to research because Maddie actually can talk to the second headmaster, and they decide to go to him. We have a short scene where Apple tries to talk to Raven, but they run away. Then we have a conversation between Maddie and the other Grimm brother, talking in riddles. And Maddie basically tells Raven that, nothing bad will happen to you if you don't sign the Storybook of Legends, which has Raven incredibly happy, only to then be revealed that actually, maybe, I think this is the case, so now Raven has to decide, will she take what Maddie said with a grain of salt, or will she believe it? Then we see Legacy Day, where Apple excitedly signs her storybook as it shows a great and beautiful future for her as a queen. Meanwhile, Raven sees how she will become homeless and full of hatred, only to be put in a cage, which isn't the nicest destiny, and she's thinking about signing out of the fear of, disappearing. However, in the last second, she decides not to sign the Storybook of Legends. And as she decided not to do it, she doesn't disappear, surprisingly. Then we have Apple's reaction, basically freaking out and calling her selfish for not wanting to have her life ruined just so Apple can have her destiny. Then we see Raven's powers basically freezing everybody. And then she's shocked to know that she can do that, which is also something that will be important later on, which is basically how powerful this girl can get. Anyway, then she unfreezes Apple, and they have a short conversation where Apple is really upset that she might not get what she wants because of Raven, and is panicking because she might not get the happily ever after she wanted, which kind of shows her ignorance, knowing that, if Raven signs the Storybook of Destiny, she will be guaranteed to become miserable, but if she doesn't, Apple still has a good chance of becoming queen and everything because she's the daughter of a queen. But just the fact that it won't be guaranteed 100% is already upsetting, which is pretty selfish, but it also makes sense since it was a tradition for these people, and it was basically taught to them since they were children that they have to do this. Yeah, but you don't actually get to see how much pressure lies on Apple before this, so now in this mini movie, she seems rather just like a bit of a selfish brat, I have to be honest. Overall, I really like this mini movie. It is a great introduction to this universe and this cartoon, how basically sets up the main plot and also gives you a glimpse into these characters. And yeah, I just think the designs are really charming. I like the characters a lot, and also how they later on develop, and I think this episode is a great start to a great series.